All right, road to 194, day 3, morning weight 162.4 pounds. Today is Friday, which means it's back day, which means it's a medium carb day, which means it's 3 days away from the next time I can eat a lot of food. Monday is my high day, and that's pretty much all I think about throughout the whole week, making it to Monday. I'm able to have a cheat meal at the end of Monday too, which is still reasonable. It doesn't mean I can go out and eat pizza and donuts, but I am going to show you guys what I eat on Monday. We'll worry about that when I get there. You know, the concept of a cheat meal is very subjective. You know, a lot of people think that the word cheat meal means I'm able to go out and have pizza, I'm able to go out and have donuts and ice cream, and that's not what it is. Cheat meal means I'm able to have things that aren't necessarily on my allowed foods list from my coach, but they still need to be kept within a certain caloric limit. They still need to be reasonable. I still prefer that they have good protein in them, so that even though I'm cheating and I'm getting something that I'm craving, I'm still building muscle, I'm still supporting my goals. I don't want to go out and sabotage myself. People hear the word cheat meal and they think the laws of thermodynamics don't exist on Monday night because Monday night the coach said you could have a cheat meal. The laws of thermodynamics still exist on Monday. Even if your coach says it's a cheat meal, if you eat 5,000 calories, you still get fat. That's just the way it works. You don't just magically defy the laws of physics because the coach said Monday night's a cheat meal. A little bit of a tangent there. But meal prep's gonna look a little different today. I'm gonna have a little bit of variety, simply because I'm getting to that point where there's little bits of a couple different things in my fridge that if I don't eat them soon, they might go bad. So rather than prepping 4 meals worth of chicken today, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna prep 4 meals worth of rice. And then for the meats, I'm gonna cook them as I go because I have a little bit of fish laying in the fridge. I have a little bit of beef. I got a little bit of chicken. So I'd like to just get some of that stuff out. So today's gonna be a little bit more fun than usual, I guess, when it comes to food. I'll show you guys that in a bit. I'm gonna meet you back here for breakfast. But what I'm gonna do right now is take my yohimbine, have some coffee, and then I'm gonna do my 30-minute walk around the house. After I'm done with that, I'll come back and I'll see you guys for breakfast. Okay, I lied, I'm back already. I'm about to take my yohimbine. I forgot to tell you about the morning water. You guys are probably wondering when you saw that in the beginning. The first thing that I do when I wake up every day is I slam a glass of water, which has 5 drops of Lugol's iodine in it. This is for thyroid function, among other things, but mainly thyroid function. Even if you take a multivitamin or if you're eating, seafood and stuff like that, you're probably not getting enough iodine for the most part, just because, well, I mean, it depends where you live. I'm speaking mostly from experience living in America. Just our soil, our seas, everything is just completely depleted of all the minerals and things that it's supposed to have, but especially iodine. So typically you would get iodine from a diet that's high in seafood and kelp and stuff like that, seaweed, even certain vegetables and salts. But just a lot of things in America don't have that. So that's the reason I supplement with iodine. And even if you take a multivitamin, you're probably still not getting enough iodine because the RDA is just like a complete joke. Bit of a tangent there on iodine. The other 3 things I put in were sea salt, which is just for sodium and some micronutrients or minerals, I should say. No salt, which is just potassium, and then magnesium glycinate or magnesium citrate. Either of those are fine. The one that I'm using is actually not either of those, but that's not by choice. It's just because I'm in Nicaragua and the magnesium I was able to find is kind of crap. But I just say glycinate or citrate, those are the best 2 you can use. So basically just 3 different salts to get my electrolytes in. First thing that I do when I wake up before I even have my coffee is get my water and my electrolytes. After I slam that, I slam like 2 more glasses of water, and then I move on to start drinking coffee. You gotta stay hydrated, especially when you first wake up, because during the night you get dehydrated. This is super important for anybody, but especially bodybuilders in general, especially if you're deep into a cutting phase like I am, because you're already so depleted of water and glycogen. You just don't really have any of that fullness to keep you lubricated and protected from injuries and things like that. So it becomes super, super important to stay extra hydrated, to have the electrolytes, because God forbid, I pull a muscle getting out of bed in the morning and walking up the stairs or something like that because I didn't bother to drink my water. That's the last thing that I need. It's not going to help me achieve my goals in the gym. And even in the gym, you got to be careful lifting when you're on a cut like this. So stay hydrated, get your electrolytes. I'll see you back here for breakfast. All right, guys, I just got finished with my 30-minute morning walk around the house. Already got 3,200 steps in, which is super helpful to get me towards my 7,100 or so that I need to get in for the day. Not to mention, it just helps get the blood flowing, helps get my mind working a little bit, and helps my digestion. This is great during a cut, but even in a bulking phase, this is extremely useful because when you're eating so much food, it's hard to get down all the calories that you need to get down. So it might seem counterintuitive to do cardio to guys who are on a bulk sometimes, but it really helps keep your metabolism up and allows you to eat more calories. And ultimately, it's just healthy. So I think people who say that doing cardio during a bulk is going to stop your gains or something, I personally think it's actually the complete opposite. Doing some cardio during a bulk, within moderation, of course, is going to help you eat more food, and ultimately that's what you need in order to grow. So I'm going to get into breakfast shortly. First, I just made myself another pot of coffee. I'm going to try and give the yohimbine just a little bit longer to work its magic. It's not just when you're doing your cardio that the yohimbine is effective. It has a peak window of, I believe it's like 3 hours or so, where it's most effective at oxidizing those fat stores. And that's not just happening when you're doing the cardio, but it's also afterwards as well. So I'm going to let it do its thing for another half an hour or so. And then we're going to make breakfast, which is going to be the same as yesterday. It's going to be 8 egg whites, 53 grams of ground beef, 36.5 grams of oats with some stevia and vanilla extract. I'm going to throw some cinnamon into it today, and also 7 grams of olive oil that I'm going to cook the egg whites in for my added fats. I also just got finished doing a bit of posing practice and transverse abdominis training. Did I say that right? Transverse abdominis. It's basically the muscle that you use when you pull a vacuum, if you know what that is, but I'll show you a video right now of me doing it. Basically, what you're trying to do here is exhale all of the air outside of your body, get rid of all the air that you have in you, and then you kind of just pull this whole stomach area in. And I'm trying to do that every single day to train the transverse abdominis in order to keep a tighter waist. Basically, if you walk around and you feel like you have a bit of a distended gut, even though you're lean, your stomach just kind of looks a little bit bloated all the time. This helps with that. But it's also most useful for when you actually join a bodybuilding competition and compete. When you're doing your posing, you want your waist to look as tight as possible so that the rest of your upper body looks as large as possible and as wide as possible. Now, it's going to be a long time before I actually compete, but this is something I want to start training immediately so that when the competition time actually comes around in a couple of years, my waist is trained to be as tight as possible. And it also just looks cool. So that's part of the reason I do it as well. But yeah, I'll see you guys back here shortly for breakfast. All right, breakfast is done. I'm gonna put some salt and pepper on my eggs. Don't be afraid of salt. I don't know why some people are so afraid of sodium. Sodium is not bad for you. Sodium is good for you. You need electrolytes. It's going to help you get better pumps. It's just ultimately healthier for your blood. If you're not eating sodium and you're avoiding it, or you think you're avoiding it, you're just doing yourself a disservice, especially if you're trying to go to the gym and bodybuild. I'm also going to put some mustard on my eggs. Might seem a little bit weird to some of you guys, but when you're in a cut, mustard goes on almost everything. No calories or no calories. There's technically a little bit of calories if you were to use the entire bottle of mustard, but it's essentially 0-calorie condiment. And then for the oats, a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of cinnamon. All right, I'm not gonna make you guys watch me eat my breakfast, so I'm gonna finish this up and then I'm gonna come back, cook my brown rice. I'm gonna have 2 more meals before I go to the gym. I don't like to go to the gym on an empty stomach, and I don't like to go until I've had a decent amount of carbohydrates. So usually it's about halfway throughout the day. I'll see you guys after breakfast. All right, guys, I'm ready to cook my rice for the day. I also realized that I have to run out to the store, which means I gotta go into town. And when I go into town, it's gonna take me a couple hours. I'm gonna be out at 11 o'clock at the time of my second meal. So I'm gonna prepare that meal as well and take that with me. Always gotta be prepared. Make sure you get your calories in, or else you're gonna be completely off schedule. So we don't want that. I wanna be ready. I'm gonna take my meal on the go. And that meal is going to be fish and rice. So as you can see on the screen here, we've got 4 meals. Meal 2 has 25 grams of carbs. Meal 3 has 25 grams of carbs. My pre-workout meal has 35 grams, and my post-workout meal has 50. My coach puts more carbs around my workouts so that I can perform better and recover better. So in total, we've got 135 grams of carbs over 4 meals, and that's gonna be 176 grams of dry rice that I need to weigh out. I'm gonna toss this in the rice cooker for 22 minutes. And in the meantime, while that's cooking, I'm gonna prepare that 200 grams of fish, which is going to be corvina. I'm in Nicaragua, so don't have access to certain fish here, but corvina is basically like a sea bass. It's a white fish from the Pacific Ocean here. It's pretty lean, so that's gonna be good enough for me. It's a real pain in the ass for me to deal with bulk anything, storing bulk meats in the freezer. I can't even buy that much meat at once. Because I have this small little fridge which has one of those tiny little freezer compartments at the top. I actually ordered a chest freezer from the United States, which is on its way here to Nicaragua for the past month. Should be here any day now, actually, so I'm pretty excited for that. Once I get that, it'll be a lot easier for me to meal prep larger amounts at once. But for now, I have to do what I have to do. Anyways, I got my 200 grams of corvina weighed out, and that's going to give me 40 grams of protein for meal number 2. So I'm gonna cut this up and then I'm gonna saute it. Quick note, by the way, if you're looking at my macronutrients for the day and you're a little bit confused why I count the calories the way that I do and why it says direct calories instead of like the total amount of calories. For example, you see 40 grams of protein and I'm getting 40 grams from my corvina, but I also have brown rice, which technically has protein in it, even though it's incomplete. The way that my coach sets up the diet plan and the macros is you have a source for protein in your meal, you have a source for carbs in your meal, and you have a source for added fats in your meal, if your meal consists of any added fats. He's only counting the direct macro from the particular source. So for example, if corvina, this fish, is my source of protein for the meal and I need 40 grams of protein, I'm getting 40 grams of protein from the protein source. I'm not counting what's in the rice. And similarly for the carbs, if for example, my protein source has carbs in it, we're not gonna count the carbs from the protein source, we're just counting it from the carb source, which is the brown rice. Now you might think, how do you get away with that? Don't the calories count? And yes, they count, but the point is, my coach knows how many total calories are in the diet, even if he's not explicitly listing them in my diet plan. So it might look like I'm having, for example, 2,000 calories on one day, and it's actually adding up to 2,200. I don't need to worry about dealing with that because it's factored into the equation on the back end. It's just not what I look at. And the reason it doesn't really matter and stays consistent anyway is because I have a list of foods that I can pick my sources from. So, for example, 96% lean ground beef is on that list. Chicken breast is on that list. White fish is on that list. All of these things are going to have pretty similar setups in terms of how many calories they add up to. So regardless of what source I choose for my protein or for my carbs, it's going to add up to similar calories regardless, because it's not like I'm allowed to go out and get a ribeye and use that as my protein source, because that's going to have so many extra fats in it, it's going to completely throw off my calories for the day. So that's why there's an approved list of sources that I can choose from, and all the foods that I choose are from that list. All right, the fish is cut up. I'm gonna season it with some salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, oregano, paprika, black pepper, and then I'm gonna saute it. Seasonings, by the way, do have calories, whether it's a small amount or a large amount, depends on how many seasonings you use. The reason, again, that that's not really factored into the equation is because I'm allowed to have them all the time. It's more important to be always consistent than it is to be always accurate, if that makes sense. For example, let's just say throughout the course of my day, I'm getting an extra 30 calories from seasonings. Well, if I'm not counting those for right now, let's say during my cut, and I think I'm eating 2,200 calories, but I'm actually eating 2,230 because of the seasonings. Well, if I'm consistently wrong about that, then it doesn't really matter, because as I track my progress and make adjustments to the diet, it's going to be that same static 30 calorie difference every single day, no matter what. So the changes I make to the diet, to the food sources, will still have the same effect of cutting my calories by the same amount. However, if, for example, I decide one day randomly, oh, you know what? This hasn't actually been accurate the way that I've been tracking this. Let me start doing it accurately and count all the calories from the seasonings. Well, what that's going to do is then if I make an adjustment to the diet, it's going to be off by 30 calories because not only was the diet adjusted, but I also threw in this extra variable that's going to skew the results and possibly affect the outcome of the diet changes. So the point is, it's better to be consistent. If you're wrong about something, being always wrong by the same amount is better than being wrong sometimes and being accurate sometimes. Does that make sense? I should mention, you do want to be somewhat mindful of how much you're using, obviously. Like, you can't dump the entire bottle of seasoning onto your food and expect it not to make a difference in your calories. But as long as you're consistently seasoning it with a similar, reasonable, small amount of seasonings, it's not going to cause you any problems. All right, guys, fish is cooked. It's put in my meal number 2 container. Rice is cooked and weighed out. We've got 556 grams of total rice. So I'm ready to prepare my 4 meals now. As you can see, I've got my 2 clear containers. I'm a bit color coded here. So the 2 clear ones are kind of like, you're in the clear. These are the lowest calories. I got an orange one, which is like caution. This is the pre-workout, semi-higher calorie meal. And then I got the big red one. That's danger, post-workout, highest carbs. So the math is a little more complicated today because all the meals aren't the same. So it's not like I could just divide it up by 4 like I did yesterday. This is a medium carb day. We have different sized meals, but this is pretty simple. So we've got 556 grams of cooked rice. We have 4 meals totaling 135 grams of carbs. So we're going to divide that 556 by 135, and we get 4.118 grams of rice per gram of carbohydrates that we need in our meal. So 4.118 times 25 is going to give me how much rice I need to weigh out for my lowest calorie meals. And that is going to be 102.96 grams. So I'm just going to zero out my scale and then remove 102.96. 102.23, close enough. I'm going to zero it out again. Do the same for the second meal. Now the rice for the third meal, or should I say the pre-workout meal, is going to weigh 144. So I'm going to zero it out, remove 144 grams. 143 is close enough since the rice probably lost a little bit of weight while it's been sitting here too. And whatever's left over now is the remainder that I need for my high carb post-workout meal. So that's it. All the rice is weighed out. Every last grain out of the rice cooker because I don't want to waste any. God forbid I'm off on my carbs for the day by 4 calories or something. I'll be honest with you, the rice that I couldn't get off the spoon and spatula, I just licked it off. I'm hungry. All right, I'm going to cover up the 3 meals that aren't coming up immediately. Put them in the fridge. And since I'm about to run out in like 10 or 15 minutes and go into town, I need to take this meal with me with the fish. This needs 7 grams of added fats, which is a half tablespoon of olive oil. So I'm gonna measure that out and toss it in there. Normally, I don't recommend measuring out your food by volume. What I mean is I don't recommend using measuring spoons and measuring cups. Always recommend the scale if possible. But for something like olive oil, it's just half a tablespoon of 7 grams. There's really not much room for error on there. So it's not like you were measuring out, 2 cups of almonds or something like that. In that case, it's always better to weigh it. But olive oil is one of those things where it just doesn't matter. So that's it for this meal. I'm gonna run out. I gotta grab some things from town. I will see you guys back here for my pre-workout meal before I head back today. All right, guys, I'm back from my trip into town and it's time to prepare my pre-workout meal. For the pre-workout meal, it's extremely important that I have something that I know digests well and sits well in my stomach. So for this one, I'm just gonna go with chicken. And after that, I got 2 meals left that I have to prepare. Meal number 3 and the post-workout meal. Meal number 3 I look at kind of similar since it's the last one before bed. I want to make sure that I have something that digests well so that when I wake up the next day, my metabolism's going strong and I can eat again when I need to. I don't want to go to sleep with any digestive problems. So I'm going to cut up chicken for 2 meals right now. That's going to be the post-workout meal and meal 3. After that, all I'm going to have left is my post-workout meal to cook, which I'll show you guys when I get back from my back workout. And aside from that, the other thing that I haven't talked about yet, which you'll see on my macros for the day, is my intra-workout meal, which is 10 grams of protein and 25 grams of carbohydrates. And for that, I got this Hostile Intra R3 orange flavor stuff right here. This is an intra-workout drink. I just take a scoop of this, put it in a shaker cup, shake it up. It's got essential amino acids in it and some fast digesting carbohydrates. For the intra-workout, you want quick digesting carbs and essential amino acids so that they can get into your bloodstream extremely fast. Anyways, I'm gonna cut up this chicken and I'll see you guys back here in a bit. All right, chicken for meal 3 and my pre-workout meal are done. So the only thing left now is the post-workout meal. I'm gonna eat this and then I'm gonna wait about 70 minutes before I hit the gym. I find that's the sweet spot for me when the meal is smaller. The only time that changes is if I have a bigger meal, which is on high carb day. Sometimes I might give it a little more, like an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, just because the meal takes longer for me to digest if it's very big. But today, looking at about 70 minutes, and then I'm gonna hit the gym. I'll be back here for the post-workout meal after that's done. All right, pretty sick back workout. I started off with DC rows. This is an exercise I just started doing recently. I really feel it in my lower lats. I'm one of those guys who's always had a problem activating my lats. I feel like a lot of exercises just don't really make me feel like I'm contracting my lat. Even after lifting for all these years, I just have a difficult time with that mind-muscle connection in the lat. DC rows is something I just started recently trying, and I really feel them more in my lat than probably anything else I've ever felt. So I highly recommend, if you've never done DC rows, look them up. There's some tutorials on YouTube, I'm sure. And give them a try. Let me know if you like them. I personally love them. It's probably my favorite back exercise now. I also did some single arm pull downs, which I also felt pretty well in my lats. I did some rack pulls, and I did some T-bar rows. Normally when I go into the gym, I do have a structure for my workouts. I follow a specific plan. I have a list of workouts that I do, and I log everything in my notebook. But I've started to just realize recently, since I'm so deep into my cut, it's like, what's the point of trying to progressive overload and track every single workout and do the same exercises every single time when I can't progressive overload because I'm losing strength right now? So it's just a little bit demotivating in a way, you know? I figure, why not just go in there and do what feels good, make sure I push myself hard, experiment with new exercises so that when I do bulk and when I'm ready to put on some mass, I'll know exactly what exercises I really want to focus the most on. And if I hadn't started trying new things like the DC rows recently, I'd probably get less success out of my upcoming bulk than I'm going to end up getting now, because I've found some new things that I really like. So I don't normally do all these exercises. I just decided to switch it up, and I'm pretty happy with the way I feel today. So I got a nice back pump. I did 20 minutes of HIIT cardio, obviously. You always got to do cardio. And now I'm home and I'm ready for my post-workout meal. So I'm going to go with ground beef here. I have 95% lean ground beef. I like ground beef after the workout because I just feel like it satiates me a bit longer. I wouldn't want to have it right before bed. Not that there's any problem with that. It's just, I don't want to be digesting much when I go to sleep. I feel like that's just going to cause me problems waking up in the morning with an upset stomach, or possibly waking up in the middle of the night, having trouble falling asleep in the first place, which is happening right now anyway because I'm so hungry all the time. But it's going to be 187 grams of 95% lean ground beef. That's going to give me 40 grams of protein. I already got the rice made, so I'm going to go ahead and weigh this out, fry it up in the pan. And after that, the only meal I have left is my meal 3, or the meal I'm going to have right before bed. After I do that, I'll come back. I'll show you guys my macros and my caloric total for the day. And then that's going to wrap it up, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. So I'm going to eat this. Well, I'm going to cook it first, then I'm going to eat it. And I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, it's the next day for me now. Same day for you guys by the time you see this. I got my macros up on the screen, and as you can see, I got 2,289 calories total yesterday or today. Even though on my meal plan from my coach, you can see here, it says, well, 840 calories from protein, 740 from carbs, 315 from fats, total 1895. So there's a bit of a discrepancy. I have almost 400 more calories in my actual calories compared to the direct calories that the coach gives me. That doesn't matter though, because the diet works. We know how much I'm eating. This is all factored in. He knows I'm getting 2,289 calories roughly a day. So it doesn't matter. The diet's still working. This is Chronometer app, by the way. I'll link that below. It's not like an endorsement or paid advertisement or anything like that, but I log all my foods in Chronometer. It's extremely simple for me and very helpful for me to track everything day to day. You can usually, for the most part, if you're eating something that's normal and somebody has eaten it before, it's probably in the app. You could just go in there, type in, for example, 8 egg whites, or just type in egg whites. It's going to pull up egg whites for you. You type in how many you're going to have. It gives you not only the calories and the macros for it, but for most foods, it's also going to give you the macronutrient profile. So at the end of the day, you could actually go in there and you can look at all the macronutrients that you got throughout the day, and it will tell you if you're deficient, if your diet is deficient in a certain macronutrient. So for example, if you didn't get enough vitamin D or enough vitamin K, it's going to tell you that right in the app, and you can make changes to your diet based on that. It will even give you recommendations about foods you can eat to supplement that micronutrient. So for example, vitamin D, it might say eat some eggs. Tomorrow is going to be arms, calves, another medium day. So I'll see you guys back here for that. If you made it this far, which I doubt anybody did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all those things. It helps grow the channel, helps the algorithm so I can get this content out to more people. You can find me on Instagram at Mike DeFranco Fitness. I just created that yesterday. I'll link that below as well. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.